So you'd start by that, by giving our people rights above this land and the future of it. That would be making sure that we are the keepers of this land. That would be the main priority number one. Then you make sure that our people are being given the opportunities to progress and get into roles that are needed.
Right.
Then you start deporting all the illegals, the foreign criminals, you remove the incentives, you take away welfare, you take away social housing, you take away free education and free medical care. That deals with an awful lot of the problems as it is.
Hey guys, I just wanted to post another video with Dan Tubb and Stephen Laws from the YouTube channel Lotus Eaters Daily. Someone left a comment in my previous reaction to this video, and when I tried to link the full video in the description, I couldn't find it any longer, so I figured I would just review to the second half. It's not that long. I'm going to react about halfway through to another comment from the previous video, then asked me to clarify what I meant by America is a bit more sticky than England in terms of remigration. So I'll get right into that. Right now, we're going to dig into the rest of this clip here with Stephen Laws and Dan Tubb.
I mean, there's a whole different thing about whether you can get up and say that sort of stuff, because if we can have censorious laws one way, we can have them the other way as well.
Yeah.
The second thing I'd do is I'd have a proper point system. Well, not maybe a point system, but people who genuinely add something. I don't mind a bit of immigration. I'll give you. Well, I'm giving you a bloody edge case now, but I'll give you an example. A family that lives on my street. He's like a German eye surgeon, and she's like half British and half something like Sri Lankan or a bit whatever. She's like half and half, and I can't remember. She used to do something in finance or something like that. Anyway, the point is, they actually contribute. And if you're in a car accident or something and your eye gets a bit screwed up, he's a good person to have around. So I don't mind having him around. And then their kids are just like indistinguishable from other British kids, I would say. So I don't have a problem with a bit of migration as long as it is a relatively high bar. I mean, if it is literally, so I know this is the meme, but if it is literally surgeons and engineers and stuff, I don't have a problem with it. It's that we just get millions of people and battery farm them in social housing, and that seems nonsense to me. And I reckon if you were to clear out basically all of the bit below a fairly high bar, again, it just wouldn't be an issue, and I'd be right with that.
See, this is the thing. Yeah. If you took that position, my position, once you've reached that stage, my position of total remigration then loses all power. Because the public are like, okay, we're secure now. And this is what I keep trying to explain to people. It's like, the closest we get to total remigration is a huge win. The closest we get to it. If we get it, that's massive. That's an ethno state for our people, and that's the ultimate goal. But if we get to 98, 99%, I'm not going to sit here and throw my toys at the pram because we haven't got the 1%.
Well, people have moved on to something else by then.
Yeah, by then our future secure. Immigration is not even an issue. People aren't running on in elections. They're not.
Yes.
It's completely out of the conversation. There'll be other topics about how can we better our lives of our people and so forth. There'll be other directions we can go. Like the possibilities after remigration are endless and what we can do for our people. But getting to that stage, this is where we're all disagreeing at the moment. Like even most of my critics are right wing. They are very much like
they're the ones watching.
Yeah, they're the ones. I do have a few leftists that watch, but yeah, they're the ones that are watching. But they critique my position, but they never propose their own. And it's like, I don't mind you critiquing me. Like if you've just offered an alternative, I can respect that because at least you thought it out and you're going, okay, I don't want to go quite as far as Steve does. So here's what I would do. But no one's doing that at the moment. Everyone's going, Steve's going too far. He's racist. You can't just deport mixed race kids. And so, okay. So what can you do?
Yes. And, well, actually, on that, let's turn to the second part of this, is because it sounds like if you were in a position to do this, which, you know, let's be fair, as we talked about, you're probably at least 20 years away, but it's not impossible things shift to the point where you or somebody like you does the Farage journey and then in 20 years is on the verge of forming a government. So it's worth thinking about. It has been implied from what I've heard from you is that you're willing to take a fairly direct approach on getting this done, which is, you know, you'll be sent a letter. So go away.
I never really get the opportunity to explain that because it keeps interrupting. So there'll be stages of process. Not everyone would be getting deported at the same time because that will cause problems.
It would be logistically difficult.
Yeah, it would be very difficult to do it all in one go. I'm not saying it's impossible, but the public would fight you against it every step of the way. So realistically, you'd start, before you've even deported people, you'd start on a huge training enterprise program where you're working towards these skills and roles that need to be filled, knowing that remigration is going to happen. So doctors, engineers, you encourage this through the schools. And it's going to take a little bit of time to get them into these roles. But the people that we're looking at deporting later down the line, this is 5 to 10 years down the line. So when we get to those stages, we'll have the replacements
and are those
ready.
those programs are filtered, are they, at that point? So if some Bangladeshi family turned up 5 years ago and their kid wants to enter this program,
No, they wouldn't be getting it. No, it'd just be for British people.
So you'd start off with some sort of law that distinguishes, and actually this is a point I did want to make, right? 4 out of 5 Anglo countries today have basically a special carve out for indigenous people.
Yeah.
You know, the Indians in America and what do they call the First Nation in Canada, and then the Aboriginals in Australia and maybe the Maoris in New Zealand. They all get a special carve out and a recognition that they are the indigenous people. So you would start with something like that and you say, okay, the 5th Anglo country is now also going to have recognition for the indigenous people.
Yeah. So you'd start by that, by giving our people rights above this land and the future of it. That would be making sure that we are the keepers of this land. That would be the priority number one. Then you make sure that our people are being given the opportunities to progress and get into roles that are needed.
Right.
Then you start deporting all the illegals, the foreign criminals. You remove the incentives. You take away welfare. You take away social housing. You take away free education and free medical care. That deals with an awful lot of the problems as it is.
Yep. And would that be a phased thing, or would that be?
That would be alongside it all. And then alongside that, then you start working towards the Boris wave, and then you go for immigrants that aren't working. And once you've reached that stage, there's an awful lot of people that have gone.
Oh, it could be well over 10 million.
Yeah, and that could also solve an awful lot of the problems straight off.
Yes. So one of the things I've noticed is that apparently with the doctors, we're getting a lot of foreign doctors, but that's because we just simply refuse to train them. For whatever I don't fully understand this, but I've had it explained to me that for whatever reason we just choose not to train enough doctors, and the ones that we do train, they all end up going to Australia or something like that. So there's some easy wins there that you could basically just not do stupid stuff like that.
Yeah, slight little tweaks with policy can make a world of a difference on changes with that. So like, as far as I understand it, is there's caps on how many British people can apply to take on these roles.
Yes, and that was it.
And that just seems completely illogical. There shouldn't be a cap. If anything, we should have a surplus. So if people leave these roles, there's someone to step in straight away. So changing things like that can go a very long way in terms of not having to import people for roles and so forth. So then that takes away that pull factor. And then obviously you combine that with like the stages of removing people like illegals, foreign criminals, the Boris wave, immigrants that aren't working.
So how long does this process take in your mind?
It varies. So if you think you're only going to get one term in government and you're going to have to accelerate it in terms of do it within 5 years. But
yeah, I think if you get one term in government, you've lost though, because it will just get undone.
It'll get undone. So logically, 10 to 15 years, you'd want 3 terms. And if you're showing the public that I've voted for this, so if it gets to the point where they're voting for someone like our guys to be in power, they clearly want the change. The public want the change. So then if you're carrying out the illegals, the foreign criminals, the Boris wave in the first few years, I think the whole public's going to be very much behind you.
Yes.
And that's when you extend on and start removing immigrants that are not working. And obviously, you have a voluntary repatriation program going along at the same time. All of these combined factors over the period of about 10 to 15 years would see the demographics reversed.
So the reason why America is a little more sticky than Great Britain in terms of remigration, it's because America, as a geolocation, it's not the birthplace of my ethnicity. My ancestors came here and conquered this land. My heart lies with them. On my maternal side, I have British ancestry. Bishop is the last name that I've traced back so far. That leads to a land grant in Maine from the Revolutionary War, and that's just one genetic line. I was trying to see if I was related to the first witch hung in the Salem witch trials, Britta Bishop. So I'm only certain of that name so far, but my heart is with my British ancestors. I am also a quarter Sicilian, and I love that heritage as well. But America was founded by white Anglo-Saxon Protestants. In the northern half of America, those colonies, it was more Puritan Protestants. But in the southern half of the United States, the southern colonies, those colonies, a lot of those were settled by the second sons of wealthy landowners in Western Britain. Point being is that our founding fathers and the ethos of our culture and our nation, it comes from white Anglo-Saxon Protestants. But it gets sticky in America starting with just the years previous to the Civil War, because other European whites were brought over, and they were brought over really as an invasion force economically and to supply the Northern Army when the Civil War broke out. And those whites were Catholic. And if you look into our history, the Protestants were running from a Catholic nation across Europe that was trying to wipe them out. I mean, we talk about it as the Reformation, but the Reformation was a series of wars that was many, many, many centuries centuries long, and we're often referred to as a melting pot. That's an absolute load of shit. The statement that we're a melting pot was written by one of the chosen ones. I believe it was a playwright, and that was at the turn of the century in the early 1900s, so that was a subversive tactic. America is also sticky because we have the descendants of slaves that live here, and they were brought here against their will. And I'm not going to sit here and feel too bad about that because it's player versus player out there. They were enslaving us too. Just look into the story of the Barbary Coast. We freed ourselves. They didn't do anything to free us. The African nations didn't fight other African nations to free white slaves, but that did happen in reverse. But then there are other layers as well. Members of the chosen ones really started flooding our nation in the 1830s and especially in the early 1900s. Those people I wish had never been allowed in our country at all, because that's who I think single-handedly destroyed us through feminism, through taking over our banking system, through taking over all of the information systems, which would include the emerging public schooling system. And in the last main point that makes it sticky would be the Hart-Celler Act in 1965. In the 60s was like the death knell for America. It's just taken a while for the cancer that was cultured within the crucible of the 60s to fester and destroy the organism that is the American nation state. But just to clarify my position, I would like to go back to the condition where white Europeans were the only immigrants that were welcome in this nation, because the founding fathers and the people who conquered this land, the people who built this nation, they were white Christian Europeans. And in terms of remigration, I think that if you are an anchor baby, you and your entire family should be sent back to wherever you came from. And it should go without saying that I think there's about 50 million illegal migrants here who need to be sent back to their homelands. We shouldn't be nice to them. We should make it really uncomfortable for them to stay here and make them want to leave on their own. This crazy inversion where you're supposed to look at the invader in your own land and thank them for taking everything that's yours, I want absolutely nothing to do with that mentality. I was working at a restaurant and this girl was speaking in Spanish and said, "Oh, what's your nationality?" And she said, "Mexican." And I go, "Oh, so you're not an American citizen. How long are you here for?" And she goes, "Well, no, I was born here, but I'm Mexican." And that's an anchor baby for you right there. They'll never be one of us. They don't like us. They see us as a means to an end. They are not loyal to America. They are loyal to the land from which they came. So I want the anchor babies gone too. I want pretty much most of the people who've come here since the Hart-Celler Act to be kicked out of the United States, 100%.
Okay, well, that's a very different picture to what the impression I got watching your Andrew Gold interview then, because he was talking about it being very authoritarian, and I think he was envisaging, and it's always difficult in an interview that is adversarial as that, because he didn't really let you expand.
I didn't really get the chance to elaborate on it. I said, "You get a letter," and he's like, "What do you mean a letter?" And I'm like, "Okay."
But he was clearly envisaging, and therefore conveyed the message to the audience that your world would involve, guys with boots and low-tier body armor would be going around with vans and throwing them in the back and all that kind of stuff.
That will be part of it for some of them that resist, obviously. If you get arrested and you resist, they turn up heavy-handed.
Yes.
That's not saying that's the first approach we'd take with an immigrant. That's just saying if they refuse, then of course that's going to happen.
If you enjoyed that content.
So that's the other half of this video that I reacted to earlier. And I know the commentary might not pertain to a lot of the stuff that they're talking about in this clip, but I just wanted to address that because someone kind of got there early in the comment section and requested it. And I'm not much for writing in the comment section, but I'm more than happy to speak my thoughts and share them in a video. If you watch this, thank you so much. And please consider hitting the like and subscribe buttons and sharing this video to help this channel grow.